September 19th, 1944. 3:47 in the afternoon. Near the town of Hellcat, northeastern France. A thin mist hangs low over open farmland. Visibility is poor. The ground is soft from recent rain. Engines struggle for traction. And somewhere inside that fog, a decision is about to be made that should not work. Lieutenant Edwin Leeper of the United States Army's 704 Tank Destroyer Battalion grips the edge of his turret hatch. His vehicle hums beneath him. Light. Fast. Exposed. The M18 Hellcat. Across the field, hidden beyond the mist, German armored units from the 11th Panzer Division are advancing. Their machines are heavier. Stronger. More armored. Panther tanks. And Leeper knows something else. If they are seen first, they are dead. Because the Hellcat cannot survive a direct hit. Not even one. At this moment, the battlefield is silent. Too silent. Then, a faint sound cuts through the fog. Tracks. Heavy ones. Closing in. Leeper raises his binoculars. He sees nothing. But he hears everything. And that is the problem. Because the Germans think they already understand this fight. They have seen American tanks before. Shermans. Predictable. Slower. Easy to deal with using long-range fire. But today, they are about to meet something different. Something they already dismissed. Something they laughed at. A pocket tank. And that mistake is about to cost them everything. 5 weeks earlier. July 1944. Normandy, France. American commanders are facing a crisis. German heavy armor is dominating engagements. Panther tanks are knocking out Shermans at long distances. Tiger tanks are even worse. Thick armor. Powerful guns. And a psychological effect that is crushing morale. So the United States doctrine shifts. Instead of building heavier tanks, they double down on speed. On maneuver. On ambush. Tank destroyers. Vehicles designed not to take hits, but to avoid them. And the most extreme of these machines is the M18 Hellcat. It is fast. Very fast. Capable of reaching speeds over 55 miles per hour. That is faster than most tanks on either side. Its armor is thin. Very thin. At some points, barely half an inch. Which means one thing. If it gets hit, it burns. But it carries a 76mm gun. Accurate. Deadly. Capable of penetrating German armor, if used correctly. That is the key. If used correctly. But many did not believe it would work. Even American crews were skeptical. Too fast. Too fragile. Too risky. And German intelligence reports? They dismissed it completely. They saw it as a lightly armored nuisance. Not a threat. Not something to fear. And that assumption is about to collide with reality. Back to Hellcat. 3:52 in the afternoon. The fog thickens. Visibility drops to less than 200 yards. Leeper lowers his binoculars. Still nothing. Then suddenly, a shape. Dark. Massive. Emerging slowly through the mist. A Panther tank. Less than 100 yards away. Leeper freezes. Because this distance changes everything. At long range, the Panther dominates. But here, close. Inside the fog. The advantage shifts. But only if he acts first. Inside the Hellcat, the crew waits. Gunner Corporal James Logan adjusts his sight. His breathing slows. The radio crackles. Other units are reporting movement. Multiple contacts. This is not a single tank. This is an advance. A push. And if they break through here, they will collapse the American line. Leeper knows the stakes. He also knows the problem. If they fire, they reveal their position. If they wait, they risk being seen first. There is no safe choice. Only one decision. And it must be made now. At this exact moment. German Commander Oberstleutnant Friedrich von Lauchert is confident. His Panzer Brigade has momentum. They have already pushed through weak resistance earlier in the day. American units are falling back. Everything suggests another easy breakthrough. His Panthers move forward cautiously, but without fear. Because in their experience, American armor cannot stop them head on. Not here. Not in these conditions. Not against Panthers. And certainly not against something lighter. Faster. Weaker. What they do not realize is that speed changes the rules. And someone on the other side is about to use that speed in a way they never expected. 3:54 in the afternoon. The Panther moves closer. 80 yards. 70. Leaper makes his decision. He leans down into the turret. His voice is calm. Fire! The Hellcat's gun erupts. The shot cuts through the fog. Second stretch. Then impact. The round strikes the Panther's side armor. A flash. A burst of sparks. Then smoke. The German tank jerks violently. It is hit. Badly. Inside the Panther, chaos begins. But Leaper does not celebrate. Because now, they are visible. And there are more Panthers behind it. Many more. And they are about to respond. What happens next will redefine how this war is fought. Because this was never supposed to work. A thin armored vehicle, engaging one of the most feared tanks in the war. At close range. On purpose. And winning. But something far worse is about to happen. Because the Germans are about to adapt. And when they do, speed alone will not be enough. 3:55 in the afternoon. Aricourt. The first Panther burns. Its crew scrambles inside, smoke filling the fighting compartment. One man tries to open the hatch. Another is already down. Outside, the fog shifts. And suddenly, more shapes appear. Not one. Not two. At least 5 Panthers advancing in line. Lieutenant Edwin Leaper feels the weight of the moment. Because now, the ambush is no longer hidden. Now it is a fight. And his Hellcat cannot survive this kind of attention. Move! Now! The driver slams the throttle forward. The M18 Hellcat surges backward, engine roaring, tracks biting into wet soil. It disappears into the mist just seconds after firing. That is the doctrine. Shoot. Move. Disappear. But there is a problem. The Germans saw the muzzle flash. They know the direction. And Panther commanders are not inexperienced. They begin turning their turrets. Fast. Too fast. Inside one of the advancing Panthers, a German gunner locks onto the last known position. Distance, approximately 100 yards. He does not need perfect visibility. He only needs a silhouette. A shape. A mistake. His commander gives the order. Fire! The 75mm gun detonates. The shell tears through the fog. And lands exactly where the Hellcat was. 2 seconds ago. Dirt explodes. Metal fragments scatter. But the target is gone. That is the difference. 2 seconds. That is all the Hellcat needs to live. But now the situation escalates. Because Leaper is not alone. Hidden across this fog-covered farmland are multiple units from the United States 704 Tank Destroyer Battalion. Each one positioned carefully. Each one waiting. Each one holding fire. And they are all watching the same thing. German armor pushing forward blind. 4:01 in the afternoon. Captain Bruce Clark, commanding Combat Command A of the 4th Armored Division, listens to incoming reports. Enemy armor confirmed. Multiple Panther tanks. Advancing aggressively. Clark understands the danger immediately. If the Germans break through here, they can split American lines. They can disrupt supply routes. They can force a retreat. Everything depends on stopping this push. But there is another factor. The fog. It limits visibility for everyone. Which means this is no longer a long-range engagement. This is something else. Close. Unpredictable. Deadly. And that favors one thing. Speed. Back on the field. Leaper's Hellcat swings wide to the left, repositioning behind a small rise. The crew works fast. Loader Sergeant William Price grabs another round. Armor piercing. He slams it into the breech. The gunner adjusts his aim again. But now, they cannot see anything. Only fog. Only sound. And the sound is getting closer. Tracks. Multiple sets. Grinding through mud. Leaper raises his binoculars again. Nothing. Then suddenly, a silhouette emerges. Closer than before. Another panther. But this time, it is not alone. A second one appears just behind it. Stacked. Moving together. This changes everything. Because now there is no room for error. Leaper hesitates. Just for a moment. Because this is the trap. If he fires, he might destroy one. But the second will fire back. And that shot will not miss. He knows the armor of his Hellcat. He knows what one hit means. Fire. Explosion. No escape. So the question becomes unavoidable. Do you take the shot? Or do you wait? And risk losing the moment? What would you do here? 4:04 in the afternoon. German Commander von Lauchert begins to sense something is wrong. His lead tanks are not reporting clearly. Radio messages are confused. Fragmented. One tank hit. Another repositioning. Enemy unseen. This is not how American armor usually fights. This feels different. Unstable. Unpredictable. And then he hears something that changes his tone completely. Fast vehicles, hitting and moving, cannot track them. Fast. That word stands out. Because German doctrine is built around armor strength and firepower. Not speed. Speed is not supposed to defeat steel. But now, it is. Back to Leaper. 4:05 in the afternoon. The two Panthers continue forward. 60 yards now. The fog shifts again. Just enough. The side armor becomes visible. A narrow window. A brief opportunity. This is it. Leaper makes the call. Fire. The Hellcat's gun erupts again. The round slams into the first Panther. Direct hit. The tank jerks. Smoke bursts from the turret ring. But before the crew can react, Leaper shouts again. Move! Move! The driver accelerates hard. The Hellcat darts sideways. Not backward this time. Sideways. Unpredictable. Because now, the second Panther fires. The German shell cuts through the exact spot where the Hellcat just was. Again, seconds too late. But something has changed. The Germans are adjusting. They are no longer firing at positions. They are anticipating movement. They are learning. And that is dangerous. Because once they understand the pattern, speed alone will not save the Hellcats anymore. 4:08 in the afternoon. Across the battlefield, more Hellcats open fire. Different positions. Different angles. Each one striking, then vanishing. German formations begin to break. Not from destruction alone, but from confusion. They cannot see their enemy. They cannot predict their movement. They cannot establish a stable line of fire. But this chaos hides a deeper problem. Because the Hellcats are burning through ammunition. Fast. And supply lines are not close. Not in this terrain. Not in this fog. And once the shells run out, speed becomes meaningless. Captain Clark receives another report. Enemy advance slowing. Multiple German tanks disabled. But not destroyed. Not completely. And that matters. Because damaged tanks can still fire. Still kill. Still change the outcome. He realizes something critical. This is not a clean victory. This is a race. A race between mobility and endurance. And endurance favors the Germans. 4:12 in the afternoon. Leaper's crew reloads again. But the loader pauses. He looks down. Then up. His voice is tight. Low on armor piercing. Leaper feels it instantly. Because this changes everything. Without the right ammunition, their gun becomes far less effective. And the Panthers are still coming. And far behind the fog, German reinforcements are already moving forward. More tanks. More crews. More firepower. They have not even fully committed yet. And when they do, this battlefield will become something else entirely. Something the Hellcat was never designed for. A sustained fight. Against superior armor. With limited ammunition. And no margin for error. What happens next will push this tactic to its breaking point. Because the Germans are about to change how they fight. And when they do, the hunters may suddenly become the hunted. 4:15 in the afternoon. Aricourt. The fog thickens again. Visibility drops even further. And for a brief moment, everything slows. No firing. No movement. Just silence. But this is not calm. This is calculation. Oberstleutnant Friedrich von Lauchert stands half-exposed in his command Panther. He studies the battlefield. Not with his eyes, but with patterns. His tanks are being hit from multiple angles. Short range. Then nothing. Then another strike. Different direction. This is not random. This is controlled. Disciplined. And suddenly, he understands. This is not a defensive line. He mutters quietly. This is a net. He reacts immediately. Orders go out across the radio. Spread formation. Increase spacing. Advance in staggered groups. And most importantly, do not chase the firing point. Wait for the second shot. Because that is when the Hellcats reveal themselves. This one adjustment changes everything. 4:18 in the afternoon. Leaper's Hellcat settles behind a hedgerow. The engine idles low. The crew listens. No movement in front. No silhouettes. No sound. It feels wrong. Too quiet. Then, a distant shot. Not from them. From somewhere else. Another Hellcat. They engaged first. And that is when it happens. A Panther does not fire immediately. It waits. 3 seconds. 4. 5. Then it turns. Not toward the first shot, but toward where the Hellcat will move. And fires. The explosion rips through the fog. A direct hit. The American Hellcat never even fires a second round. Its thin armor offers nothing. The vehicle erupts. Flames burst upward. Black smoke rises instantly. Inside, there is no time. No escape. Leaper hears the explosion. Feels it. Even from a distance. And in that moment, he realizes something has changed. The Germans are no longer reacting. They are predicting. 4:22 in the afternoon. Across the battlefield, reports begin to shift. Hellcat lost. Direct hit. Enemy adjusting fire. The pattern is breaking. The advantage is slipping. Captain Bruce Clark receives the update. His expression hardens. Because this is exactly what he feared. The longer this fight continues, the more the Germans adapt. And once they adapt, the Hellcat loses its edge. Back inside Leaper's vehicle, the loader checks the remaining rounds again. Too few. Not enough for prolonged engagement. The radio crackles. Another unit is pulling back. They are repositioning. Trying to reset the engagement. But that creates a new problem. Because every time a Hellcat moves, it risks being seen. And now, the Germans are watching for movement. 4:25 in the afternoon. A new sound enters the battlefield. Different. Heavier. Slower. But unmistakable. More engines. More armor. Reinforcements. Von Lauchert's second wave is arriving. Additional Panther units. And with them, greater numbers. Greater pressure. And now, they are advancing more cautiously. More deliberately. Not charging. Hunting. Leaper peers through the fog again. And this time, he sees something that tightens his chest. Not one, not two, but a line of panthers, spaced apart, covering each other's movement. This is coordinated. This is controlled. This is dangerous. Because now, there are no easy shots, no exposed flanks, no isolated targets. Every move is covered, every advance protected. 4:28 in the afternoon. Leaper whispers the words no commander wants to say. Hold fire. The gunner looks at him, confused. Because targets are visible. Opportunities are there. But Leaper knows the truth. If they fire now, they will not escape the second shot. This is the turning point. The moment where aggression becomes risk. And patience becomes survival. But patience has a cost. Because while they wait, the Germans advance. Closer. Closer. Reducing distance. Reducing reaction time. Reducing escape options. 4:31 in the afternoon. Von Lauchert receives confirmation. American units are hesitating. Holding fire. Exactly as predicted. He presses forward. Carefully. Relentlessly. Because now, the battlefield is shifting in his favor. And then, something unexpected happens. On the far left flank, a single Hellcat breaks formation. It accelerates. Fast. Too fast. It charges forward across open ground. Straight toward the German line. Leaper sees it. Everyone sees it. And for a moment, it makes no sense. This is not doctrine. This is not safe. This is not survivable. But there is a reason. A reason no one fully understands yet. Because that one move is about to reset the entire battle. 4:33 in the afternoon. The charging Hellcat closes the distance rapidly. Its speed is unbelievable. 50 miles per hour across uneven terrain. The Germans react immediately. Turrets turn. Guns align. But they hesitate. Just for a moment. Because this move is completely unexpected. And that hesitation is everything. The Hellcat fires on the move. A risky shot. A near impossible shot. But at this distance, it works. The round slams into a Panther's side, disabling it instantly. Then, without stopping, the Hellcat veers hard, changes direction, disappears into the fog again. And just like that, the pattern is broken. Again. Leaper understands immediately. This is it. He mutters. Unpredictable movement. Not just speed. Not just ambush. But chaos. Controlled chaos. But there is a problem. A serious one. Because that Hellcat does not reappear. Seconds pass. Then a minute. Then two. Nothing. And then a distant explosion. The cost of that move has just been paid. But something far more important has happened. The Germans hesitate again. Their formation loosens. Their confidence cracks. And now, the Americans have one more chance. One final window. To turn this battle back in their favor. But it will require something even more dangerous. Because what they are about to do next pushes the Hellcat beyond its limits. Beyond its design. Beyond survival. And this time, not everyone is coming back. 4:36 in the afternoon. Aricourt. The fog shifts again. Not clearing, just moving. Like a curtain being pulled across the battlefield. And in that brief movement, both sides see something they were not expecting. Distance. Too close. Lieutenant Edwin Leaper lowers his binoculars slowly. Because now the truth is unavoidable. The German Panthers are within 50 yards. Some even closer. This is no longer maneuver warfare. This is point-blank combat. Inside the Hellcat, the air feels tight. The loader grips another round. But his hands are slower now. Not from fear. From exhaustion. From repetition. From knowing every shot matters. Leaper speaks quietly. Next move decides everything. And he is not exaggerating. Because at this range, there is no second chance. 4:38 in the afternoon. Captain Bruce Clark issues a new order. Short. Direct. Dangerous. All units, close distance. Engage aggressively. This is not standard doctrine. Hellcats are not meant to brawl. They are not built for it. Their armor cannot survive it. But Clark understands something critical. If they continue pulling back, the Germans will stabilize, regroup, and push through. This is the last moment to break them. So he makes the call. Turns speed into shock. Back on the field. Leaper hears the order. And for a moment, he does not respond. Because he knows exactly what it means. Drive toward the Panthers. Not away. What would you do here? The question hangs in silence. Because every instinct says no. But the battlefield says something else. 4:41 in the afternoon. Leaper makes his decision. Driver, forward. The Hellcat lunges ahead. Engine screaming. Tracks tearing through wet soil. Straight into the fog. Straight toward the Panthers. This is the gamble. Across the battlefield, other Hellcats do the same. Multiple vehicles accelerating at once. From different directions. Different angles. Different speeds. To the Germans, it looks like chaos. But it is not. It is coordinated unpredictability. Von Lochert watches in disbelief. American tank destroyers. Charging forward? This makes no sense. This breaks every pattern he has seen today. And that moment of confusion is all the Hellcats need. 4:43 in the afternoon. Leaper's Hellcat bursts through the fog. A Panther appears directly ahead. Less than 40 yards. Too close for comfort. Too close for hesitation. Fire! The gun erupts. The round slams into the Panther's lower side. Penetration. Immediate. The German tank lurches. Smoke pours out. But before it can react, Leaper shouts again. Keep moving! They do not stop. They do not confirm the kill. They move past it. Fast. This is the new tactic. Do not linger. Do not wait. Strike. Disappear. Even at point-blank range. But the danger multiplies. Because now, every Hellcat is inside the kill zone. 4:45 in the afternoon. A Panther on the right flank finally reacts fast enough. Its turret swings. Locks onto a moving Hellcat. Fires. The shell connects. Direct hit. The American vehicle explodes instantly. No warning. No escape. Just fire. Leaper sees it. Feels it. And keeps moving. Because stopping means joining them. 4:47 in the afternoon. The battlefield becomes something else entirely. No lines. No formations. Just movement. Smoke. Flashes of fire. Engines roaring in all directions. Hellcats dart between positions. Appearing. Firing. Vanishing. Panthers turn constantly. Trying to track. Trying to predict. Trying to survive. But the speed difference is overwhelming. At this range, turret rotation cannot keep up. Decision time shrinks to seconds. Then to moments. Then to instinct. And instinct is failing. 4:49 in the afternoon. Von Lochert receives fragmented reports. Enemy everywhere. Cannot track targets. Taking hits from multiple angles. His formation is breaking again. Not from lack of strength, but from lack of control. And control is everything in armored warfare. 4:51 in the afternoon. Leaper's crew is down to their final rounds. The loader looks up again. This time there is no hesitation. Last two. Leaper nods. No words. Because now, every shot must count. They swing behind a small ridge. Pause. Just for a second. Another panther appears through thinning fog. Side exposed. Stationary. Perhaps damaged. Perhaps waiting. No way to know. Fire! The round hits. Clean. Precise. The panther erupts in smoke. Last round. The words hang heavy. Because after this, they are just a fast target. 4:53 in the afternoon. Leaper scans again. Nothing clear. Just shapes. Movement. Confusion. Then suddenly, a panther emerges directly ahead. Closer than any before. Less than 30 yards? No time to think. No time to aim carefully. Only instinct. Fire! The final round leaves the barrel. Impact. The German tank shudders. Stops. And then, silence. Leaper exhales slowly. But he does not feel relief. Because now, they are out of ammunition. And the battlefield is not empty. Through the fog, more shapes are still moving. More engines still running. More guns still loaded. And for the first time today, the Hellcat has nothing left to fight with. What happens next will determine whether this bold gamble becomes a victory or a disaster that should never have been attempted. Because speed alone cannot save them now. And the Germans are about to realize it. 4:55 in the afternoon. Aricourt. The fog begins to lift. Not completely. But enough. Enough to reveal shapes. Burning wrecks. Twisted metal. And movement that is still very real. Lieutenant Edwin Leaper stands half out of his turret. Scanning. Counting. Calculating. No armor-piercing rounds left. No high-explosive rounds left. Just an empty gun. Inside the Hellcat, the loader stares at the empty rack. The gunner keeps his sight forward, even though there is nothing left to fire. Because looking away feels worse. And then, they hear it. Engines. Not retreating. Not stopping. Advancing. 4:57 in the afternoon. Through the thinning fog, a panther appears. Then another. Then a third. Slower now. More cautious. But still coming. Because the Germans have figured it out. The firing has slowed. The American shots have stopped. And that only means one thing. The enemy is running out. Oberstleutnant Friedrich von Lauchert does not hesitate this time. He gives the order. Advance. Finish it. This is the moment he has been waiting for. The moment where armor advantage finally matters again. Where thick steel and loaded guns dominate the field. And now, the Hellcats have nothing left but speed. Back inside Leaper's vehicle, the driver looks up. Waiting. Because everyone knows the truth. They cannot fight. They can only move. Leaper makes the call. Fall back. Full speed. The Hellcat spins. Accelerates hard. Kicking up mud. Pulling away from the advancing Panthers. Across the battlefield, other Hellcats do the same. Some faster. Some slower. Some not moving at all. Because not all of them made it this far. 5:01 in the afternoon. German tanks begin firing again. This time with clearer visibility. This time with better tracking. A Hellcat in the distance tries to escape. Too slow. The Panther fires. Direct hit. Another explosion. Another vehicle gone. Leaper grits his teeth. Because now, every second matters. But something unexpected happens. The ground changes. Soft soil gives way to firmer terrain. A slight incline. Better traction. And this is where the Hellcat shows its final advantage. Speed. Pure speed. 5:03 in the afternoon. Leaper's Hellcat reaches near top velocity. Over 50 miles per hour. Across uneven ground. The pursuing Panthers try to follow. But they cannot match it. Not in this terrain. Not at this speed. Distance begins to open. Slowly. Then faster. And for the first time since the battle began, The Hellcats are not just surviving. They are escaping. But the escape is not clean. Behind them, smoke still rises. Wrecks still burn. And some engines have gone silent forever. 5:06 in the afternoon. Captain Bruce Clark receives final reports from forward units. Enemy advance halted. Multiple German tanks destroyed or disabled. American losses significant, but contained. He exhales slowly. Because this was not supposed to work. Not like this. Not against Panthers. But it did. Barely. Back on the field. Leaper finally slows his vehicle. The engine settles. The battlefield fades behind them. No cheers. No celebration. Just silence. Because everyone knows what just happened. And how close it came to failure. But there is something else. Something more important. The Germans are no longer laughing. Earlier in the campaign, the M18 Hellcat was dismissed. Too light. Too fast. Too fragile. A pocket tank. But today, that pocket tank did something unexpected. It controlled the fight. It dictated the engagement. It forced one of the most powerful armored forces in the war to react, to hesitate, to break formation. And that changes something deeper. Because warfare is not just about armor, or guns, or numbers. It is about adaptation. And today, the Hellcat proved something critical. Speed, when used correctly, is not weakness. It is a weapon. But there is one final detail. One final truth that was not visible in the smoke. Not clear in the moment. The German offensive at Ericourt does not recover from this. The losses here. The disruption. The confusion. It delays their advance long enough for the American 4th Armored Division to stabilize the entire sector. And that delay has consequences far beyond this field. Because every hour gained here pushes the front line forward elsewhere. Every tank destroyed here is one less defending Germany later. Every decision made in this fog echoes all the way to the end of the war. Leaper looks back one last time. Through fading smoke. Through distance. And in that moment, he understands something most never will. They were never supposed to win this fight. But they did. Not because they were stronger. But because they moved faster.